Michael Massa video, subscribe, share, and like the video for more. Wealth, power, and the global elite, unmasking the paradigm of control. The rich get richer, exploring the world of global dominance. Let's talk a little about the current world order, the way in which the world, our planet, is being run. In the world that we live in, there is a vision, paradigm, that carries this world. The powerful of this world, those that have conquered this world on all international platforms, they have their vision in which they are running the world in the actual moment. So, who are these people? Well, if you do some research, you will find out that there are principal 13 families or 13 bloodlines that currently run the world. You can do your own research. We have families like the Astor bloodline, the Bundy bloodline, the Van Dyne bloodline, the Rothschild bloodline, the Collins bloodline, the Russell bloodline, the Onassis bloodline, the DuPont bloodline, the Freeman bloodline, the Lee bloodline, the Merovingian bloodline, the Kennedy bloodline, and many other minor bloodlines like Rockefeller and Carnegie, etc. Let's open a bracket. So, these bloodlines are the ones that are running the world at the moment. They took over the world a few centuries after the fall of Egypt. You know very well that the first civilization was in Ethiopia 40,000 years ago, and then it declined around 30,000 years with the separation of the tectonic plates, and later after the Great Flood that led to the drowning of Atlantis around 20,000 years ago, Egypt took over the leadership in the world and reigned for 13,000 years. The Greeks and Babylonians took over from Egypt around 1400 BC after the death of Pharaoh Khennatu. And the Romans, now around 300 BC, took over the Greeks and have been leading the world till date for 4,000 years now. Rome broke down into the kingdoms of Europa that we know today, namely Franco-France, Belgium, Anglo-Saxon England, Spanian Spain, Portugal. The Portuguese are the ones that came to Africa first and found strong people that they found useful to be shipped to the Caribbean and America to work in the plantations as slaves, and the others followed the footsteps of the Portuguese. Many of these 13 families sprung out of these kingdoms, and of course a few in Asia. Black people were seen naturally by the Romans as free labor because remember, the Romans took over from the Greeks. When Rome invaded Greece, they destroyed everything, but kept the books and library of the Greeks. The Romans absorbed the philosophy of the Greeks, cooked with their military power, and ruled the world. In the society of the Greeks, dark-skinned people were created by the gods to be slave and serve light-skinned people. They even had physical traits to tell if one was chosen by the gods to be a leader. Trait 1, blue eyes. Trait 2, sharp nose. Trait 3, thin lips. Trait 4, light skin. Trait, soft curly hair. If you lacked any of these traits, you were created by the gods to be a slave. So, when the Portuguese landed in the heart of Africa in the 14th century and saw black people, they shouted, "Hallelujah, the gods have blessed us today." Let's close the bracket. So, if you look at the Great Seal of the United States, it has 13 arrows and 13 stars. It is not a coincidence that in the Great Seal of the United States there are 13 stars and 13 arrows. It is because they depict the 13 families that currently run the world. The question you have in mind is, how do they run the world? These 13 big families are at the top. When we mean top, we mean they are at the top board of the board of directors or founders of all the Fortune 500 companies. They founded and own these companies and are not destroyed by nationalities, like Chinese, Russians. They are all in the same paradigm. These 13 families own or have majority shares in all the Fortune 500 companies. The companies that are at the forefront of taking resources of Africa and making sure that we continue to demur in extraordinary poverty are owned by these 13 families. They also own all the biggest banks in the world. They control the money and all the natural resources of the world. They have selected puppets under them that run organizations like the United Nations and all its bodies, the World Bank and IMF, and world government systems. But all orders come from on top. They decide the fate of humanity and which direction the world should go. They meet in meetings like Bilderberg's group once a year to plan the events of the year. All heads of states have representatives in these meetings. These 13 families own all the biggest multinational companies in the world, and this is how they run the world from the shadows. The vision that is running the world and also that is organizing all the structures of our planet and communities is the accumulation of riches. This is the vision that these people have on how they can accumulate as many riches on the planet as possible. So, what is this vision? Basically, how can a person get a lot of resources or riches? How will the state get a lot of riches? Or how a group of people will get a lot of riches so they can do their own financial oligarchy? This is their goal. Their goal is to acquire as many resources as possible in the world to create their own financial oligarchy. This is the entity summary of the vision of the people that are running the world in the current time. So, the world, the organization of all states, everybody in the world, the way they have driven the world for the past 4,000 years, they have installed a software in everybody's mind that for you to be satisfied in life you have to acquire material riches. We are born into this from a young age. The TV, the media, and the surroundings always push you that if you want to be great in this world, you have to acquire. You have to have the mansion, the money, the best car, and a wardrobe full of clothes. This is their vision of the house. When a person is accumulating a lot of material riches, then the person is considered in the actual current vision paradigm, that she has found their purpose and sense of life. This is what they installed in humanity, these 13 big families for the past 4,000 years. To have is the sense of life. If you do not have, then you are nobody. So, the actual vision of the current world lies around the accumulation of riches, and in the process of the accumulation of riches it has given birth to conflicts of all sorts. They have basically put the world in all sorts of conflicts just to get the riches of the world, from identity conflicts to civilization conflicts of all kinds. The current vision of the world is essentially carried by the Western world. For example, the Rothschild family financed both sides of the First and Second World War to make money. Other brothers via their banks financed Hitler and others financed the US government. They create the problem and set up the solution. The Western world are the ones that are leading this vision. When we speak of the Western world we mean America, Western Europe, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. They call them the Five Eyes. It means life, and the sense of life is the capacity of someone to maximize and fill up on material goods and see how they can rationalize where it needs to be produced with the final goal of acquiring material riches in abundance. I checked the word rationalize. It means attempt to explain or justify behavior or an attitude with logical reasons, even if these are not appropriate. Today we have cars that run on fossil fuel, like petrol, and they require combustion to happen so that the engines can function, and they release toxic gases in the atmosphere polluting the environment. But they find selfish logical reasons to manufacture these cars, even though there is a possibility of choosing the green energy way, but no, they want you to spend money to buy fuel. Today we have abortion pills. Many of these pills have negative effects or side effects into the body of our women, but they find logical explanations to justify the production and distribution of these pills. Why? Because their goal under the paradigm is to make money. We do not even know the extent to which these pills damage the bodies of our queens. Yet they fund the media such as movies and music to show a moral thing to push people to get involved in sexual activities and later buy that eye pill with fear of unwanted pregnancies. They even orchestrated a v.i.u.s. called c.o.v.i.d19 and set all sorts of useless social distancing regulations across the globe and prevented us from associating with our loved ones, deprived us of free life and movement with a logical reason that there is a virus that is killing people. All this is called rationalization. And you know you took the vaccine, now you have to do the second jab and third jab. So, after creating the virus problem, they make the vaccine solution for you to buy and they can make money. And they have configured these vaccines with nanotechnology that destroys sexual reproductive organs to reduce the population of the world, eugenics. They are scared to share their money with many people. Too much mouth to feed, let's get rid of them, they say. This is the paradigm that is causing us a lot of problems in the world. A paradigm that most of our leaders in Africa have embraced. Why? You know, many of our leaders are educated in the paradigm of the West. I have a degree and PhD in the paradigm of the West. You studied economics in school. They taught you economics in the paradigm of the West. Minimize cost and maximize profit even if you have to break laws. You are a doctor in the hospital. You are a doctor in the paradigm of the West. To treat a patient is to lose a client is the paradigm of the West. In the current medicine, it simply makes you feel relaxed temporarily, but doesn't treat you fully. They know the cure, but they won't give you the permanent cure. You need to keep coming back so they can make more money. Countless theories in economic science explain how and what people need to do to become all-powerful accumulators of material riches. In African culture, we used to meet in the market to exchange goods and services in a just manner. Preferably, we used to do barter trade. We exchanged things to live in harmony with each other. The market in reality should be a place that brings people together for a fair exchange of goods and services, but for these people, these 13 big families through their multinational companies, the market is a place to make sure that they should earn more than other people. That idea of competition, Airtel versus Vodafone, Microsoft versus Apple, Facebook and Instagram versus TikTok, WhatsApp versus WeChat. So, a market, instead of being a place where you can exchange things in harmony and in love, no, it becomes a competition. You have your own shop, you want to beat the other shop, you want to dominate the exchange of goods and services even in an unfair manner to make more money. Why? Because you believe and vibrate in the paradigm of accumulation of riches. Others can't stand the competition, they go and meet sorcerers or witch doctors to give them juju so as when a customer comes to the market only to buy from his shop. Some even get juju that they put under the tongue so that when they speak, they can convince the client easier and he buys, all this driven by the paradigm of accumulation of riches. People do not want to work naturally, everyone wants to make it quick in life. Too many shortcuts. These 13 big families that run the world, they say in their heart, I should earn more than another country, more than another continent. Their goal is for total world domination. Why? Because they want to impose their vision, paradigm. And they have already imposed their vision on all humanity. These days Russia is on the chopping block and then China is next because they have been refusing to enter into the paradigm of the West. So Ukraine is being used as a scapegoat. They want the entire world to function according to their paradigm. As a matter of fact, 90% of the world functions according to their paradigm. You go to school primarily with what idea in mind? Not to serve humanity, for charity? Hello, no, but to make money. To do what? To buy that shoe and that dream car and house. The primary objective is material riches, human values, and helping humanity comes secondary. So, from a young age we are taught accumulation of riches. Even in school, we compete with each other. I got 60% in the exam, I have to check what my neighbor has got. We do not measure ourselves against ourselves. Even if you get 50%, as long as you beat your classmates it is a success. We do not look on the inside, how can I improve to become better? No. See, my mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends and all children of the nation of Africa, the kind of economy that is meeting at the market has become the engine of the development of a person. Back in the 1900s, if you wanted to measure the worth of a person, you looked at their values, like respect, love, modesty, responsibility, kindness, love, peacefulness, gentleness, self-control. But today we measure someone's personality by how much material riches they have, how many zeros they have after a whole number in their bank account. You hear things like I make 6 figures, I make 7 figures. You even hear women saying I am looking for a 6-figure guy, anyone below that not my level. It means it is in the exchange of or in your capacity to dribble another on the price and be able to manipulate money for your own personal gain, that other people are called developed and other people are called less developed or underdeveloped. The countries of Africa are known as undeveloped, the famous term, third world countries. The countries of Europe and America are known as developed, because they know how to dribble the rest of the world, manipulate the economy, manipulate money to keep others as third world countries and they can stay first countries, all this driven by the paradigm of accumulation of riches. All of this is to look at how to be clever in the remuneration of work, they call it to be smart. Tune into the BBC, you will find countless economists debating on how to strategize to make more profit. So, when an employee performs his/her task, if you are an employer, you look for a way to pay the employee less, so that you can earn more and get joy and happiness in the world and in your nation. You as the employee can earn more, travel, buy luxurious things, escape taxes while your employees are stuck in the rat race and live paycheck to paycheck with heavy taxes. They have designed their education system and industries around profit base, it has to be about profit and nothing else. Build the BP oil and gas company for oil and gas exploration. Set up one plant in the middle of the ocean where there has been an indication that fossil fuel is available. In the process of acquiring the oil, pollute the ocean, kill as many fish, but as long as you make profit it is alright. Suppose you have a business, and you have employees, you have to see how you can use them, use their skills to make you have more money, and pay them less in what they call salary. And you enjoy the extra profits because it is your company. This is driven by capitalism. It means if I am a business owner in the US, I will open my factory in India, because I can pay the Indians $2 an hour, but I cannot pay an American $20 an hour. Let me use the Indians and pay them less, and I should keep the extra profit to myself. That is the paradigm of accumulation of riches. So, you see, my mothers, fathers, and friends, the paradigm of the Western world, the paradigm that has dominated the world for over 4,000 years since the fall of Egypt, where our ancestors led the world for 13,000 years after the Great Flood. Our ancestor Nini Congo, that Europeans call Noah, left the heart of Africa with his 3 sons Zola, Ngangu, and Lendo towards King Apiti, Egypt. They built Egypt, and their generation reigned for 13,000 years. We lived in Ubuntu, a society of love. There was nothing like competition and accumulation of riches. But our Egyptian civilization came to an end with the invasion of foreign nations. Because of our own stupidity, we began to marry outsiders for the sake of alliances that led to nowhere. So, the Babylonians took over, then the Greeks. You know of Alexandria the Great, who was gay and was part of the bloodlines of the 13 big families. And they invaded Egypt and destroyed everything. They even took all our knowledge and writings in the temple to Greece. And our ancestors were forced out into an exile towards Canaan in North Africa, Middle East, and some went back to Central Africa. The Romans took over in Egypt after the Greeks, and later Rome broke into the kingdom. I, Michael Massa, know these 13 big families and where they come. Some call them the Greco-reptilian beings, others call them Luciferian beings or the Illuminati. They know that we are in the time of Aquarius and that the reign of Quatchalendo, reign of peace on earth, is coming on earth. Their mission is to trap as many people as possible to miss out on participating in this reign. Political organizations are made to give a sense of syndicate to entrepreneurs, syndicate of salaries, social force. All this serves as a way to organize the society so that the economy should actually be the accumulation, repartition of material riches. And finally, the sense of the world. The sense of a person in the world is how she will get goods and services. These people had a plan in Europe. They had a plan about all this on how they want to accumulate everything in Europe and America. But they said, we will not end here, we also have to travel to many territories across the earth to conquer those spaces. It is taught in history that they sent out explorers like Christopher Columbus, and later the missionaries to find new territories. No. They wanted to take their paradigm and impose it on all inhabitants of the earth. So, they came to Africa. Unfortunately, this idea of conquering the world gave birth to the idea to build armies and organize their armies to be able to defend themselves, and at the same time it had to be and still is a key instrument of destruction to anyone who opposes their agenda. If you try to oppose their agenda of the paradigm of accumulation of riches, you are going to die. We have seen this. All our leaders in Africa who have tried to oppose this agenda are in the grave. The army becomes an instrument for conquering the riches of the planet Earth. For this to happen, there is a need to create all sorts of doctrines of all types. In Africa, we practiced spirituality, Kimuntu. They brought us religion based on dogmas and precepts. And they forced this religion on our ancestors. Those that refused were killed, buried alive, or burnt. And they set up institutions of mental indoctrination called schools and churches to completely brainwash and insert their paradigm into the minds of our children for 500 years, colonization. This project is still going on and has developed into decolonization. It is very well organized by the use of Afrikaans, African puppets that work for the imperialists. They came to see that the force/power of a person/people is in their capacity to have arms of war and also the capacity to impose his/her/their vision and ideas in the world. They built their armies. They used all these nuclear weapons made from primary materials of African countries. The nuclear weapon used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the primary materials, uranium, was sourced from Congo. That is why today as we speak, the vision that is dominating the world currently is the vision of the accumulation of riches, and when you will accumulate these riches, it places you in a position where you will be able to pass your ideas and you will be respected. We respect these countries of Europe and America. We respect them. Why? Because we have been brainwashed by their education system that they brought to Africa. That respect means when someone has so much more money and power than you, then they deserve your respect. No, respect should be given to someone who has values, ethics, morals, principles, virtues. In African Ubuntu, a respectful person is a person who has values and principles, but today in the vision of accumulation of riches you have to have power and money. They have therefore organized the world into different categories, the engine/leading countries, which are the countries of Europe and North America, and the Third World. Our own leaders in African nations foolishly refer to them as the deciding nations. Africa has no representative in the top 7 countries of the UN Security Council. We foolishly refer to these nations as the decisive in the sense and vision of their paradigm. And other nations, precisely third world nations, are simply seen as reservoirs of Earth's primary materials. So, my fellow brothers and sisters, you need to understand that if you are an African leader and you are going to world meetings to discuss matters that concern the world, other nations only see you as a reservoir of primary materials. Michael Massa video, subscribe, share, and like the video for more.